My name is Larry Swinton. I'm running to be your next student body president. I am a junior sport and entertainment management major from right here in Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm a member of the Opportunity Scholars Program here on campus. I've done a lot of different things on campus, including being the only undergraduate speaker at the inaugural TEDxUSC this past semester, and I'm also honored to be the first Secretary of Inclusion, Equity, and Student Government. Currently, I'm running on the FUSE campaign alongside Sophie Davish, who's running to be student body vice president. The mission of the FUSE campaign is to bring a diverse group of students together, united around one common goal, rooted in the 4 pillars of our platform, which is sustainability, student life, mental health, and inclusion and equity. So jumping straight into sustainability, we want to advocate for zero waste dining. We've noticed that ever since we switched from Sodexo to Airmark, that there's been a lot of needless plastic and a lot of needless packaging, as well as a lot of waste in general. So we want to work with Airmark to really cut down on some of that waste. Also, Sophie is in Greek life, and she notices that at the end of the night, the food that doesn't get used is these big trays from buffet style that just gets thrown out at the end of the night. So we want to advocate for those Greek houses to collaborate with the Food Recovery Network at no extra cost to get that food to people who really need it, because it's actually going to waste at the end of the night if nobody's using it. So that food would be going to churches as well as community centers and other partners. And so on the student life side, we've noticed that there's a lot of students on this campus who do not know where their money is going. We pay tuition and fees, but that's about it. We don't understand anything past that. So we want to advocate for student fee transparency. We believe that every student should have a dollar-by-dollar breakdown on their bill of where their money is going and exactly what it's being used for. We also want to institute a program called Greek Night at Columbia Life. I've been a marketing intern with Gamecock Athletics in the past, so I know that this is doable. So what we're proposing is that the winners of the Spurs and Struts, as well as the winners of the NPHC Stroll-Off, can perform their winning pieces during a halftime show or a media timeout during a Carolina basketball game. But we don't want this to just be social, sorority, and fraternity centered. We want students in musical fraternities, pre-professional fraternities, and sororities, all sorts of any type of Greek affiliation, honor societies, you name it. We want you to wear your Greek letters and paraphernalia with pride. We also want this to be a collaboration with the Alumni Association, so bring back Greek alumni to really pack the house at Columbia Life as community partners, get graduate chaplains involved, to really just sponsor a sense of unity on campus. A lot of times, Greek culture, we see a lot of the bad that Greek life can do. So we really want to discuss it in a positive light without being holistically Greek village focused or without being holistically focused on just social Greek life. So that's something that we're really excited about. On the mental health side, we've been working with Katie Cohen, who is the creator of Stigma Free USC, very heavily on how to expand Stigma Free USC going into the future. So we really want to have it, this year we focused a lot on eating disorders, but next year we really want to focus on accommodating even more demographics, including student veterans as well as people with PTSD, as well as survivors of sexual assault. Also, we're partnering with Helinski's Hope. I'm actually wearing my bracelet right now, with Ryan Helinski and his family's foundation, which centers around destigmatizing mental health for student athletes. But right now, the organization is working on expanding beyond just student athletes. So one of the things that they'll do is that they're going to host student leader workshops on how to deal with mental health as student leaders, as well as try to do some more fun things like bringing student athletes on Green Street for office hours to really kind of get students to see student athletes as people rather than these just iconic figures, and just increase, and also for student athletes themselves to feel more human on campus, because a lot of times we don't want them to feel like spectacles. They're Gamecocks just like we are. They're students and they deserve to be treated like normal people. And then the last but certainly not least, inclusion and equity, something that I'm very passionate about with my background, something that Sophie is very passionate about as well. We want to implement a program called Equity Week, which would be a week worth of events centered around professional development. We realize that every student does not come on this campus equipped with all the tools that they need to be professionally successful. I'm a first generation college student. I know that I didn't know how to interview, didn't know how to dress properly, didn't know how to network. So what we would do is host a week worth of events focused on resume and LinkedIn building, offering free professional headshots, as well as using that week to relaunch our Carolina Closet program. We will hopefully do this in the first or second week of school before freshman council applications close. So students are being put in the best possible position to succeed in not only freshman council, but in those university ambassador interviews, all of those core key programs that happen at the beginning of the year. We want every student to have the best chance possible to succeed in all of those things. Another program that we're super passionate about is Give Back U of SC, which would be a partnership between student government as well as Gifford Garnet and the Alumni Association. So the point of Give Back U of SC, Sophie and I saw that during SEC Exchange where we went, which is a conference of all the student governments and the SEC get together every summer. Other institutions do this and it works. So basically students and alumni would raise money for students. And that money would go to a fund that students with severe financial hardship would be able to apply to if they're missing anywhere between $20 or $2,000 missing on their tuition bill if it's keeping them from classes. We've learned that there are some students with as little as $100, and that's keeping them from being enrolled in classes, and that's something that we just cannot simply stand for. I know that there's been times as a first generation college student where I have been missing that much on my bill, and by the grace of God I've been able to pay it, but I know that some people aren't as fortunate. So that's something that we're extremely passionate about bringing to this University of South Carolina. And on an overall standpoint on our platform, we want to bring student government back to the student body. That's why we want to implement a program called Let's Talk Exec, which is overarching, and that would be at least once or twice a month. We would bring our office hours to Green Street, because a lot of times people don't know that their executive officers are having office hours in the LSC, because a lot of times we're so hidden all the way in the back of the room. So the point of Let's Talk Exec is just to bring student government right back to the student body. A lot of times during elections, we are able to have that face-to-face interaction with students because we're campaigning on Green Street, but we want to keep that momentum going. We want to be able to do that all the time because we want all students to know who their executive officers are and know that they're being heard and that they're cherished.
So, I mean, kind of touching on, the Let's Talk Exec, do you feel that as, student body president, should you be elected, that transparency, how would you go about being a transparent leader to the student body, the university, and the media?
Absolutely. I think that, like I said, Let's Talk Exec will be huge on that. But I also think that it's important to maintain the level of involvement that we already have. A lot of times what happens is people will get a new position and then they stop being passionate about the things that they were before. And I think that's what's really important to me and Sophie because of the campaign that we're running. We connect all sides of campus because we've been involved in so much. So we have to continue to stay passionate about the things that we were passionate about before because people notice that. People notice that if I'm keeping the same energy for inclusion and equity that I was when I wasn't student body president, people notice that. People will resonate with that. If Sophie is keeping the same passion about seeing Greek life in a positive light that she was before she was student body vice president, people will see that. People will resonate with that. And also just being open. I'm really big on social media, and I'm open. Like all my pages are public. I love DMs. I love talking to people. I'm very talkative. I talk a lot. And I think that the cool thing about both of us is that we're super approachable. And that's also why we chose each other to go on this journey with, just because we're super approachable people. And I think that through programs like that, as well as just being open to talking at any time, and also being proactive. If we know that something is going on, take it to the media first before they can come ask us about it. I think that we can do a much better job about sending things out to student organizations, send things out to students, and send things out to the media. So I'm really big on being proactive rather than reactive. In my current position as Secretary of Inclusion and Equity, that's something that I drive home all the time when I'm talking to both administration and students. That's something that we can do a much better job of as the University of South Carolina, and that's something that Sophie and I are very excited to start implementing.
Going off that question, what is your ideal relationship with the student media? What would you like to see from us, and what are you going to do with us?
I would, as I said before, I would like to bring initiatives to you first. I would like to say hey, we're having this event. Hey, can you come cover it? Then instead of student media having to come to the office and say, are you doing something today? I just want to keep those lines of communication open. I was editor-in-chief of my high school newspaper. Love media, love it. I'm an advertising and public relations minor, so I am super big. I love talking to the media. I think that the media is so crucial to our culture, and without freedom of the press, we have as a people have no voice. So I just really want to keep those lines of communication open. I know that's something that's very important to Sophie as well, particularly since she's in programming. So she would probably work way more heavily as far as when we start doing events and things like that from student government initiatives and programs. So that's very important, just keeping those lines of communications open and, like I said, being more proactive rather than reactive.
Earlier, when you were talking about the Fuse campaign, you mentioned that you're reaching a diverse group of students. How would you define diversity on campus?
Well, I think that the Fuse campaign, we have diversity of race, gender, sexual orientation, but not just that, we have a diversity of experiences. Like I said, I am from right here in Columbia, South Carolina. Sophie's from right outside of Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. So we have very different experiences. Is that I'm in state, she's out of state. Like, it doesn't get more in state than Columbia, South Carolina. But we also have, I'm a first generation college student, she is not, as well as many other people in our campaign, but we're bringing all those different things together. She's in the Honors College, I'm in the Opportunity Scholars Program, which a lot of people don't know exists, but we're very strong on campus, and it's something I'm very proud to be a part of, and just for, if anybody doesn't know, it's for first generation college students from the state of South Carolina. So, and plus my background is working with multicultural organizations, but one thing about this campaign is that Sophie's in CPA, but this campaign has gotten people from AKA talking to people to ZTA. We have people from A5A talking to CF. Like, we have people finally having these conversations that usually wouldn't have no reason to interact. And we're just not just talking about Greek life. We have people from AAAS talking to the Rotaract Club. Like, we have people who usually would have had no reason to interact, coming together because they truly believe in our vision, they believe in our passion, they believe in the purpose of this campaign. That's something I'm super proud to be a part of and to be leading the charge on.
How are you getting these organizations to communicate and collaborate?
So basically, when we started this campaign, we just basically went to the places that we were. Who are the people that we know in our organizations that we're currently in that we felt would be good for this campaign, would have great ideas. Sophie is involved in Zeta, Circle of Sisterhood, student government. I've been involved in student government, as well as I sit on the OMSA Leadership Council with all the OMSA organizations. I've done work with the Opportunity Scholars Program. I'm a resident mentor on the Historic Horseshoe. I worked in the athletics department. So we just, honestly, we put them all in a room. And we said, like, hey, what do you want to see on this campus? And that just honestly sparks a conversation. And as we continue to go on this campaign journey, people started hanging out outside of the campaign. Then that's the things that we like to see, because I always say that the Fuse is not just a campaign. We are a family. We hang out outside of just work hours. We do more than work visits. We actually care about each other. We love each other so much. Most of us have found some of our best friends on this campaign, and we didn't know them 6 months ago. And that's something that's really cool. And I think that resonates to the student body, because one thing that we both want to do is foster a feeling of connectedness on campus. We want people to care about their fellow Gamecocks. We want people to genuinely be invested in each other's success. And I think that we're really leading by example on that.
Students and executive candidates have said that there's sort of a bubble connotation surrounding student government. If you intend to bring this campus together through you and Sophie, through your friends and people you know in these other organizations, how does that burst the bubble in the end?
I think because
if they're all your friends and it's like a family.
It's like so I did a presentation on this back in my speech 140 class on 6 degrees of separation. So I feel like every person is at least 6 degrees separated from another person, especially on this campus. Even though it's 35,000 people, it's much smaller than you think. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And word of mouth, even though we're in a social media age and everybody is so on their phones, word of mouth will forever be the most effective means of communication. Because if you can get people so excited about an idea, when they tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, it spreads like wildfire. And just seeing, I didn't know what the Rotaract Club was. Two weeks ago, literally, somebody on my campaign says, oh, my friend heard about heard about y'all investing in you. President of the Rotaract Club. This person tells a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend. We have 500 organizations on this campus, and we at least have connections. I believe that we probably have connections to all of them, at least in some way, fashion, or form, just because everybody is connected. And we really want people to know that at USC, this school can be so big and so scary sometimes, but at the end of the day, we're all Gamecocks. We are a lot closer than we think. And I think that that's so cool about Fuse, that we're really bringing all those corners of campus together.
That's right.
Okay. So right now you said your position is Secretary of
Inclusion and Equity.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do you think that role has prepared you for the specific roles of the president, and what do you think that transition period will look like?
So, I think that my position, I am the first to hold this role, but in the past it's been separate roles, so we just put it into one. Like, so Secretary of Multicultural Affairs was Secretary of Diversity and Inclusion, as well as a couple other roles. I deal with very hard topics every day. Particularly, race is a very serious issue in the South, in America in general, and that is literally one of the things that I deal with every day. I sit on the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Committee for the university with administrators, with President Pastides, as well as a few students. I sit on the OMSA Leadership Council, which is a student group, but we advise President Pastides, as well as sitting on the President Student Advisory Council. So through all of these roles, and that's all trickled down from being Secretary of Inclusion and Equity, I've been in the room for those hard conversations. I know what it's like to where there's moments on this campus disappoint you as a student where you've expected better, but I've also been in the room where I've never been prouder to be a Gamecock. So I've been there for both the highs and the lows of this institution, and I know that I have what it takes. I've been an advocate for students always. Like, I've raised my hand, I've looked at administrators dead in their eyes and always advocated for students, even when it's scary, even when you're the only student at the table. I felt like I've used my voice for a lot of good. I've sat on several university committees, including I was on the MLK Event Steering Committee, so I know what it's like to put on a university program as a whole. In addition to, over the summer, I visited the Board of Trustees meetings. I literally sat there for 5 hours during the entire meeting, saw how it was set up, saw what was the role of students in this, what was the role of administrators, what was the roles of the university. So I've truly studied this role, but inclusion and equity particularly, I've seen a lot of hard times in that role, just because dealing with racially motivated incidents on campus, dealing with homophobic incidents on campus and things like that. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I've also seen so many amazing things happen. I've seen students come together for events like Christmas Kwanzaa, which was a celebration of holidays from all around the world and learn about each other's cultures. I've seen people celebrate U of SC First Generation Student Celebration Day, which was the first time we've ever done it. It was so important to me, bringing all those different organizations on campus together and being able to work towards that. So my job, I think, has probably prepared me better than almost any other position at this university, just because I have been in the room when things are bad, but I've also been in the room when things are really good. And every single time, I always fought for students. I've always advocated for students, and that's something that I'll do for the rest of my life. I love this university, and because I love this university, I want to make it the best I possibly can.
You touched on equity a few times,
Yeah.
as the first Secretary of Equity and Inclusion is wont to do. But I want to, that word equity is different from the word equality. And so I want to ask you what that word equity means to you and why it's over equality in equity and inclusion.
So I think that the word equity, so diversity means that everybody is just there. So that means, like, okay, we can have a black student, we can have a white student, we can have a Latino student, and they're just there.
That's equality.
And inclusion means that they feel represented while they're there. But equity realizes that everybody does not come to this institution on the same level. But at the same time, we're going to get them on the same level. So that's why I say, like, with Equity Week, like I said, I'm not I'm a first generation college student. There were certain things that I did not learn growing up. But for me to be on the same level as one of my peers, if we're committing for an internship, I need to learn those professional development skills. Because if they're already here, for me to get on the same level, that means I need to learn those professional development skills. So that's what we're providing. So that's why I say the word equity, because for people who aren't there already, let's get them to the same level. Let's give everybody a seat at the table, and let's let them know that having a seat at the table means nothing if you can't say what's on your mind while you're there. So that's what equity means to me. I realize that everybody does not come here the same, but if there's something that we can do at this university to get you on the same level as everybody else and make you feel included and make you feel like you can compete at the highest level with people from other global research institutions, there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing that.
You've mentioned a few times that in relationship with organizations, you'd like to take a more proactive approach. What are some actual initiatives that could go along with doing that?
Well, we want to, like I said, with Equity Week, we want to partner with those pre-professional organizations, as well as we want to honestly just talk. Like, there's so many councils on this campus that meet, different organizations that meet all the time, and I'm talking about organizations that meet with each other, like presidents that'll meet with each other, but student government is never in the mix. And at the end of the day, being a student government is a privilege. It is a privilege to represent the 35,000 students on this campus. And I think that we need to act like it. We need to be reaching out to organizations and say, hey, is there anything that we can do for you? Is there anything that you have going on that you would like us to help you promote, like put on our calendars, anything you want us to show up to? I think one thing that I want to do a better job with is with my cabinet. I want I want my cabinet members to meet with organizations that directly correspond to their positions. So, for example, I use my job for an example. If I am Secretary of Inclusion and Equity, I need to be meeting with those organizations. I need to be having a constant dialogue with AAAS. I need to have a constant dialogue with LASSO, FEMCO, IRIS. If you are the Secretary of Environmental Affairs, you need to be talking to Sustainable Carolina. You need to be talking with other organizations dealing with sustainability and environmental affairs, and so on and so forth. Secretary of Athletics, you need to be working with Student Athletes Advisory Council, things like that. Those are the things that we are very, 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 very passionate about. Just because we want people to know that being a student government is an amazing thing. It's giving me a platform to do amazing things. But at the end of the day, it is a privilege to be able to represent this institution and represent the 35,000 students that are here. So we need, like I said, we need to start acting like it. So I think that through using my cabinet to reach out to those organizations and making sure that their concerns are heard and that they can bring that back to me every Tuesday during cabinet, I think that will be a wonderful launching pad to start.
So this upcoming year, of course, we're getting a new president, provost, and CFO?
CFO, yeah.
CFO. How do you think that will affect student government this upcoming year?
I think that with the new era the university is going into, I think that student government will be more important than ever. We will be our students will probably be the first to greet these new officers, just because the student body president works so closely with the president as on the board of trustees as well as the provost. So that means that it is as imperative as ever that the elected officers from this election cycle are very student oriented, because we will set the tone of where this president, provost, and CFO goes. And we need to set the tone that students must remain at the forefront. The university is a business. I know that we're moving forward to being a more top research institution. We're chasing after that AAU status, and I want all of these things to happen, and I'm excited about all of them, but they cannot happen at the expense of students. Student life should be a number one priority, and I think that as student body president, that would be my priority, to make sure that students are at the forefront and setting that tone and making sure that programs like the President Student Advisory Council continue, programs like the President Dive-In Lunches continue, and other things that outreach like that for students to be able to interact directly with their administration. I was very fortunate. I am very fortunate to have a relationship with President Pastides, to be fortunate to know Provost Gable, and they've left such a legacy on this university, and they will be dearly missed. But I think that it's such a testament to who we are as the University of South Carolina. Even if we are losing some of our most beloved Gamecocks, we always find a way to rise again. And I think that this new era of the University of South Carolina will be our best one yet. And I think that student government will be leading the charge into ensuring that on the student side. And Sophie and I are very eager and excited to be a part of it.
So what are your opinions on campaign caps when it comes to campaign finance?
I would love campaign caps. I'm not even going to lie, just because. But I don't know how to. I don't know how to enforce it. I wouldn't know how to enforce it. But I would love campaign caps. I'll be honest, I've spent so much money on this election. I've spent so much money on this election. Sophie and I, by the end, we will both have spent about $1,500 going into, yeah. And I'm a first generation college student. I'm self-funding everything. I'm there. At one point, I worked 4 jobs, and I believe that I'm the first trio student to ever run for executive office, just because it is so expensive. And I wanted to, but I didn't want to rest on that, just being a first generation college student. That's why I worked so hard, because I wanted to be on the same level as all of my peers. I wanted to be on the same level, and that's something that's really important to both me and Sophie. We want this to be a top-notch campaign, but I feel like because of how much money that people put into campaigns, sometimes it does enfranchise the average student who doesn't have a lot of money. There are students who have to bend over backwards and work so hard to be able to be on the same level as some of the other people who traditionally run for executive office with a better socioeconomic background. So yeah, I would like a campaign cap. I think that it would make it much easier for a lot of low-income and first-generation college students to run in the future, because right now, if money is such a deterrent, you're only going to ever get one perspective in office. You're only going to ever get a very a privileged perspective, and every student at the University of South Carolina is not financially privileged. Especially with rising tuition prices, more students now are broke than ever. Just to be completely honest about it. So I would like to see a campaign cap in the future. But I knew that this year, obviously it wasn't going to happen. And I knew that I really wanted this, and I know that me being here will allow somebody else to not struggle in the future financially going into a campaign. And I realized that was a sacrifice worth making. So yeah.
I know you disclosed how much you were spending, but in terms of if there was not a cap, do you think that in terms of transparency, other candidates or all candidates running for any position should disclose?
Yeah, I think that especially when you're running for executive officer, you want to be as relatable as possible. And I think that when you don't disclose what's going into it, you're not being very relatable. Yeah, I think just because I don't have a problem sharing about it, just because at the end of the day, we're all students, and I want other students to know that I struggle just like you. But I really wanted something, so I saved for it, and I saved for it, and I saved for it, and I saved for it, just like we all do. Everybody's saved for that first car. Everybody saved for those things that they wanted. I had to save for it. I wanted my Carolina ring. I had to save for that. We all save for the things that we really want. I really want to be student body president, so that's what I saved for. And I want other students to know that, if you really want something, you'll do whatever it takes to make it happen, no matter what deterrents stand in front of you. And I really want to be a representation of the fact of going after your dreams, even if so many obstacles are standing in your way, and not letting your circumstances define what you can be and who you will be in the future.
Zach? Are we in?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.